I'm looking forward to watching some great Legacy Magic.
Look, so far on this, you've played a lot of great Legacy Magic. If memory serves, I believe you won the pod that we were both in, and I lost.
Yeah, I mean, we picked virtually identical decks, so that's kind of just variance for you.
Hey, okay, no, that's not true. That is playing better, is what that is.
Yeah.
All right, so coming up now, we have Autumn Burchett versus Bob Huang on Rug Delver, kind of a classic, versus Bob on a new take on depth, sort of a medium depth strategy.
And yeah, we saw the first match play out in the bracket real quick. It was Phil Gallagher versus Julian, and Julian took it in 2 pretty quick games, I think. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this Autumn versus Bob match as well.
Yeah, this is kind of one of the hallmark matchups of the format, and something you have a good bit of experience in, right?
Yeah, Autumn Burchett, I believe they are playing basically what most people would consider to be the best deck in the format. You know, Rug Delver, Teamer Delver, however you want to put it. By this point, it's more of a mid-rangey strategy, but I mean, you just look at all of the cards in Autumn's deck, and they're all just great cards.
Yeah, it makes sense. It seems that they've leaned a little bit more into Hex Drinker over Hooting Mandrill. They don't have main deck Oko, but overall, this is kind of the stuff that we're used to seeing. How do you feel about this Brazen Borrower in the matchup?
Oh, it seems great. Like, I mean, split card Disperse and 3/1 Flash Fire is just great. And when you can get both halves of it, say to force out Sajuri's Step from Bob's deck. Spoilers ahead, Bob's playing Depths.
Oh yeah, surprise.
Yeah, and Bob's take on this deck, I think it's really, really interesting. So if you notice what Bob did with the deck is, he's like, oh, what's broken from the new set? Oh, cards that cost 0 mana on turn 1. We're gonna see a lot of this card in every format for quite a while, is my opinion on it.
Yeah, so that's Once Upon a Time. It's kind of caused him to split Elvish Spirit Guide and Mox Diamond, it looks like.
Yeah, just I think increasing the number of hits you have on your Once Upon a Time is valuable. And you really don't want to miss with Once Upon a Time. That would be disastrous, right?
Yeah, sure. There's like a density that a requisite density of cards you need that card's going to be hitting that you actually want to hit. Like a lot of times you aren't going to want to hit your toolbox crop rotation targets. So you want to make sure you have a good number of things that you can just hit on the first turn.
Right. And frankly speaking, Once Upon a Time is not the easiest card to play sometimes. Like you have to debate how long can you wait to cast it? Do you have a 1-drop? Is there a particular land you want to play on turn 1? Because in this deck, which land you play on turn 1 has enormous consequences upon the rest of the game. Say, leading Urborg versus Stage versus Depths, all these decisions can matter, and they're like fairly intricate to work out.
Yeah, sure. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. So who do you think is favored here?
Honestly, it's pretty close. One of the reasons I did not want to play Dark Depths when I played recent Legacy tournaments was I think Rug with the sideboard plan of Crop Rotation and Crocus is definitely favored in the post-board games. But you see Bob taking a nod to this by playing Tarmogoyf, Liliana the Veil, Veil of Summer. All of these cards imply to me that Bob just wants to play a normal rock-style game versus Rug in a post-board game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Well, it looks like the players are ready with Bob on the play, so let's go ahead and jump down to the match.
All right, who is on the play?
Bob.
Bob. Yeah, Bob's on the play. All right, I mean, I hate mulliganing, but both those hands actually look perfectly fine to me.
Yeah, it feels like Bob is something pretty close to just the draw here.
Yeah. So you notice the Spirit Guide, even if Bob had been on the draw, he gets to play around days with Spirit Guide, which is one of the nice things about Spirit Guide. And this might happen in a second. Crop Rotation Spirit Guide is like basically a counter for Wasteland. You might see that in a second. It's really hard to play around because Spirit Guide is basically disguised the entire time.
Oh wow. Okay, so a second black source here. That feels like a really big draw.
Yeah, it is. The real question is, so you have a few different lines you could partake this turn. The first line is just to play your swamp, say go, with the intention of activating searching for depths. The problem with that is you'd sacrifice one of your black sources, so I think that's unlikely to happen. Second line you could do is play Hex Mage, say go. Sort of walks into daze, but you do have the Spirit Guide to cover that. And note, Autumn can only daze once. Autumn only had one turn this game so far, so Autumn did not have a chance to play a second island, obviously.
Sure, that all makes a lot of sense. A lot of this kind of feels like it comes down to development.
Yeah. And the third line that you could take is just, Thoughtseize. See what plan you want to pursue over the next few turns. It gives you a lot of information. So all of these thoughts are running through Bob's mind, and I'm not sure what Bob's going to do. It's pretty complicated.
Yeah, there are just so many different lines. You can see him kind of thinking about it here. It feels like there are 4 or 5 different directions you could take just this
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah, and they all have different pros and cons. So it's not like obvious which one's best.
Sure.
See,
So
now, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, flipping it back over to Autumn's side now that it's their turn, what do you think about their position?
I think Autumn's feeling not so good because the Reclaimer can really get out of control, frankly. Like, well, I guess with the Lightning Bolt, it's harder for it to get super out of control. But note, you can actually protect your Reclaimer from Lightning Bolt in a sneaky way.
Oh, right. Yeah. So there are so
You
many
see
ways
it?
you just sacrifice
Yeah.
lands as a cost, which you can't really
Yep.
respond to costs. So the
Nope.
Reclaimer just becomes a 3/4 out of nowhere.
So if Autumn goes for the Bolt here, they might get blown out.
That'd be brutal.
Yeah. And the problem is it's so hard to not Bolt here, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah, it's now that especially that Bob's tapped out, I'd imagine we might even just see the bolt happening.
Yeah. So to make it clear for the chat, I do not believe this is a misplay by Autumn. I think almost every reasonable Legacy player would make this play here. It's just not going to work out that well because of the sneaky crop rotation. If Bob wants to go that route. But see, Bob's not even going that route.
Sure, because that opens him up to getting played by days, and it feels like he's working pretty hard to not let that happen.
Yep. So there's a lot of interesting. We've already seen tons and tons of interesting plays so far. Ooh, now we Thoughtseize. So the nice thing about getting Urborg is that it lets your stage tap for black.
Yeah, that's one of the big draws to that card in the deck in general. It's just letting stage and especially dark depths become much better mana sources.
Yeah, I used to joke when I was playing lands all the time. When my opponent would play Urborg, I would just be like, "Yes, this is so much better for me than it is for you."
Especially in Modern, it always feels like when your opponent plays an Urborg, you just kind of want to thank them and go, "Oh my god, I thought I was going to have to jump through so many hoops for my mana to work this game."
No, we just got infinite black mana for free, and so now Bob gets to see he really only has to work through a Wasteland in 2 days. Not too difficult to work around, I think. People often point to Wasteland being like impossible to beat. If Depths couldn't beat a Wasteland, I really do not think it would be a good deck. Yes, it would not be a good deck.
Come on. I remember the original version of this deck. I think it was one of the Legacy Eternal weekends where it just played Ghost Quarters and no Wasteland, so it could aggro Pithing Needle Wasteland.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then people just realized you can just beat it.
I technically top 8'd that Eternal Weekend with Delver as well.
Oh yeah.
Deathright was legal, so of course
no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think about taking the Days versus True Name Nemesis here?
I don't think Bob thinks he's going to die to True Name, so it makes sense to take the Days, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of a 3-1 for 3, right? No one's really that scared of a Latch Seeker.
Nope. Not in this matchup. And here, Autumn is thinking a long time about this because Autumn's thought process has to be, Bob's on my hand and he's walking a spell into days. What does this mean? And if you look at deck lists, you can probably deduce it means Elvish Spirit Guide.
Right. And or the other side of things is Autumn could just see this as the last window for them to even get value off of this days, right?
Exactly. So I think we're going to see a days, and the question is Bob going to use Elvish Spirit Guide to pay for it? But it also makes sense not to do it if you think you need to cast the True Name next turn, which looks like the plan that they're planning to take.
Right. It feels like this goes back to what we were talking about a turn cycle ago, where just development is the name of the game.
Oh, that forceful.
Ooh.
Oh wait, no.
Wow, that's so awkward. It almost matters.
I think it is going to matter. So look at what Autumn has set up here. You have a 4-turn clock with that Hex Drinker, right? And you have the Wasteland, and you can Force of Will a Hex Mage if it happens. So I actually think Autumn's in fine shape now.
That Force was a really big draw, just having a hard counter for this Hex Mage, when before we were kind of going, does this daze do anything?
No, now it does what all blue cards do in Legacy. Pitch to Force of Will, right?
That's like the argument of every MTG Salvation Forum in history. At the very least, it pitches to Force, you know?
Yeah, but you could just pitch good cards to Force of Will instead.
Whoa, why would you pitch good cards? They're good.
If you only put good cards in your deck, then that's how it works. All right, so funny thing about this Hex Drinker is if you don't force it, Bob can just use it to reset the counters off of Hex Drinker, or sorry, Hex Mage and Hex Drinker.
So here's a spot where maybe Autumn wanted to blow that daze last turn, because now if Autumn goes to try and Wasteland the Dark Depths with this on the stack, Bob gets to Thespian stage the depths in response.
Yeah. See, the sneaky Spirit Guide is coming up again.
Oh my god. No, this is huge. You're right. You kind of brought up this dynamic at the very beginning, and this is just a nightmare for Autumn.
So, traditionally speaking, the turbo lists have been better versus Delver because of Spirit Guide letting you play through off the soft counters. And I think you're sort of seeing that here as well. It's going to be really, really, really tough.
You know, I like a point that chat's brought up, kind of a flavor fail, that Hex Drinker can't just drink Hex Mage's Hex.
Well, it can. It's just really slow at doing so.
Oh, that's true. I guess Vampire Hex Mage has to, like, block for it to get drank.
Yeah.
No dice, chat. I tried to fight for you. It's not happening.
Nah. No nonsense here. All right. So I think Autumn's going to play the Grove this turn.
So there's actually a point where Bob's facing down lethal if they just cast the True Name Nemesis.
Actually, no, yeah, you're right. That makes way more sense. Playing True Name off of one of your lands, it can be the Grove still. You can just tap the Grove for black for what it's worth.
Ooh, that's a good point.
I love Urborg. I never miss an opportunity to not take damage from tapping my lands for mana. Autumn saw it.
Oh! Not missing any edges.
I would not expect Autumn to miss it. Also, as MTGO, it sort of reminds you.
Sure, yeah. I guess you click it and you see one that says pay 1 life and one that just says add black.
Yeah, it's really a lot harder to miss it here. So Bob's kind of in a tough spot.
Is Bob dead? So if you go for it here, you get Wastelanded. But if you let Autumn untap, then they just get to make their Hexstreaker pro everything, right?
Bob's out is actually to draw. Wait, no! It's protection from instants! Oh my god! I think Bob is deterministically dead. I was about to say Bob can draw Abrupt Decay, then I thought about it for a second. I'm like, no, it has protection from instants. I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can't.
So
Hmm.
Bob sees Spirit Guide, Stage, Depths, Wasteland as potential takes. Takes the waste. The problem is that's not actually good enough because you can't kill your opponent this turn. You get killed on their turn.
Maybe the idea here is you wasteland the wasteland, go off with your depths, and then hope autumn bricks on a land.
That
That's
is actually a
probably
good
just
point.
Bob's
Yeah.
line. Like, we know the Scalding Tarn is there, but if Autumn just had, say, a couple cantrips, then I guess this is the thing you can go for to give you X chance of winning.
Oh, actually, the wasteland.
Oh,
No, wait. It is going to be fast stuff. Now I think Autumn needs to draw. Yeah, Autumn's going to be 1 mana short of level 8.
oh, wow, you're right. So I got 4/4 and level 4 mixed up on the Hex
Yeah,
Drinker
same
there.
here. Same here. So Autumn can attack for 3. Bob goes to 4. No, it looks like Bob's going to squeak it out.
Wow.
Yeah, Bob's not going to mess this up. This part's the easy part. This is the
Yeah.
easy part of all the depths games. We could brainstorm into 2 bolts.
Could draw Brazen Borrower, but that doesn't get around crop rotation. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wow, Bob squeaked it out. That was kind of amazing, actually. I wonder. Oh no, we also had Spirit Guide crop rotation the entire time, so wasting the stage when Bob's tapped out doesn't actually do anything either. So, all right, it has to be.
And
No.
that is not going to do it. That is going to steal game 1 in the favor of Bob Huang on his medium depth stack. God,
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of just waiting on him to go through the motions, but there it is.
No, Autumn packs it in. They know they're dead. Wow, that was a pretty crazy game. I wasn't sure. Like there was actually a lot of back and forth within a few draw steps.
There are so much intricacy to that, and I kind of just want to point out how good Elvish Spirit Guide was there.
It was phenomenal, and I think Autumn figured out that Bob had Spirit Guide.
Oh yeah, they didn't play into it a single time.
Exactly, but the problem is it still was like there. It just made the game super annoying to play.
Yeah, because eventually it's going to get some sort of value, and if you just play around it the whole time, you're off balance the whole game, or it takes a card from you, and those are both kind of crummy options.
Yeah, so usually Daze forces your opponent to play awkwardly versus it, but instead Bob just got to take all of the game actions like normal.
Yep. Yeah, that card is just 0 mana. It's like mental misstep for days.
Good way of putting it.
All right, so we already kind of talked about this mid-range plan that Bob is going to be leaning into for the post-board games. What do you think Autumn's going to be leaning into?
I was about to say I thought Autumn would go to Submerge, but Submerge is not reliable versus the deck. But it appears Autumn siding in Oko, Caracas, rotation, Sylvan Library, which tracks with me.
Sure, that all makes sense. You can only be so reactive in the matchup.
And remember, they have access to each other's deck lists. So Autumn's taking out True Name in anticipation of Plague Engineer, I think.
Yeah, that plays.
Yeah,
True Name is also just so slow and so mana hungry.
Yeah, we saw that game. True Name was honestly not very good that game.
Whoa, I cannot believe you would dare insult a hard cast Rift Bolt.
No, it didn't even get to attack. It didn't even get to attack.
Well, it kind of got to attack. Autumn chose not. Oh my god, so it's both the bad halves of Rift Bolt, the 3 mana part and the suspend 1 part. It really is. It's not even Rift Bolt, it's like Rift.
Rift. All right. Let's see. What hand do we have for Autumn?
So it looks like Crop Rot, couple bolts, Ponder, Oko, Hex Drinker, and a Valk.
I hate mulliganing, so I would also keep. But I mean, all joking aside, I think you are supposed to keep that hand.
Yeah, I think it's kind of close, but a green source just kind of turns it on.
And also remember, you're playing against a deck that has discard like Thoughtseize and Duress, so you don't really want to just mulligan into Oblivion for no particularly good reason.
Sure. And it looks like they chose to keep here, drawing that Flooded Strand, so it's the green source they wanted, and they're going to be drawing a Brainstorm for turn.
Oh, excellent. Everything's going according to plan then.
And, looking at Bob's hand, it's just a bunch of 2s and then a ton of redundancy in his combo.
Yeah, one interesting note is Bob cannot cast Hexmage nor Decay right now. So he's really leaning into these Tarmogoyfs being good enough.
Yeah, he would kind of just get demolished if Autumn were to crop rotation for a Wasteland here.
That's such a hard play to make. That's like borderline maniacal to make that play. I'll give you a hint. You only make that play if Gitaxian Probe is legal.
If you're good enough at Magic, you just have a Gitaxian Probe emblem, and I think Autumn's good enough.
I think Autumn's really good. I don't think Autumn's good enough to make that play right there.
Wow, bold of you and chat to assume that Autumn's not psychic.
I believe Tom Ross might do that a very small portion of time based on body language.
I could definitely see him tanking. Not even tanking. He just pauses, looks at his opponent, looks down, picks up a land from the top of it, and just turns as he goes to Wasteland.
He's like, "So, are you dead?" that would literally be the Tom Ross mannerism.
Oh yeah, just so. Crop rot good.
Joking aside, tough decision on whether or not to daze because of the Oko in hand. But I think I like dazing here.
Yeah, I imagine the Oko just kind of gets a little bit worse if your opponent has a Tarmogoyf anyway, because then you have to think about protecting him to a point.
Well, I believe what would happen is they have an elk.
Well, your 2/1 is smaller than that as well.
I know that's the actual problem with that play, which is why you see Autumn daze it.
Wow, no fear.
Well,
Autumn just shoving counters, not holding up the crop rot. I guess they could just elk next turn if a depths happened.
Yeah, like that's the kind of nice thing about Oko. You don't really care if they do that. Interesting play here. Bob's mana really not cooperating.
Well, I mean, it's hard to complain that much when he chose to keep a hand with like 3 colorless sources.
that is one of the problems with the depth deck and just land space strategies in general. Their mana bases are actually pretty awful.
Right.
Yeah, so chat. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's kind of awkward that there's a Sashiri step in Bob's hand, because that means he cannot crop rotation for it to save his depths from getting elked.
Yep, everything's an elk. Day's not so good anymore.
Ooh, right on time.
But is it time for Tarmo Elk?
So if we check our Goyf count, we just have the usual suspects to make it a 4/5.
Yep, it should be 4/5. That's not great.
Yeah.
I mean, it would become a 3/3, get attacked once, it would go to 2 loyalty. Maybe that's actually okay, because then you can outsize the Goyf the following turn by making your 4/4 Hex Drinker, but we'll see what Autumn wants to do. Also, you're getting to the point where you might want to just sandbag that so no like shenanigans come afoot with regards to getting like Merit Wage out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think I actually like this line where you just start going all in on the Hex Drinker. Because now next turn you're just going to have a Progenitus.
Yeah, remember when Progenitus was 2 Wooburgs slapped together to cast?
No, that card's always been GG2 for me.
That only works if it's not in your hand.
Yeah. I got lucky a couple times.
All the Elves players know that
Yeah.
no matter how unlikely it is to draw Progenitus, it'll appear in your hand when you don't want it to. So, yes, the Ross Miriam clip. The many, many moods of Ross.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
But Bob has the option of making the Merit Wage here, but he has to think something is fishy here, right?
Yeah, I imagine there's a point where he's not just gonna assume nothing weird is happening.
I mean, game one, that's a spot where you just step on the pedal every time.
Yeah, you just go, all right, if you have Brazen Borrower, show me.
But now the problem is there's a lot more outs. Caracas, 2 crop rotation Oko and Borrower makes it a lot less desirable to do that.
Maybe this is the world where Autumn still just goes in on the Hex Drinker and leaves up Crop Rot for Caracas.
Yeah, you can do that. Another interesting play is if you're actually scared of crop rotation for a Sajiri step, sneakily, you can crop rotation for Wasteland and waste the stage steps with the trigger on the stack.
Ooh, that's cute.
I've played a lot. I've thought about these things in great detail. I think a lot of people default to getting the Caracas and then sometimes lose to the crop rotation for a step when they shouldn't.
Sure. No, I like that line.
But here it would actually be safe to get the Caracas because you would be able to daze a Spirit Guided crop rotation. So anyways, 2-turn clock for this Hex Drinker, and let's see if Autumn can hang on for 2 more turns.
That would be kind of absurd if Autumn chose to let the Thespian stage go ahead and copy and then wasteland it with the trigger on the stack, since Bob doesn't have any more untapped sources of mana in hand.
Yeah, I think I would be inclined to just rotate for the Caracas, mostly because I have the daze in my hand.
Sure.
No, step doesn't stop Caracas.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Oh, sorry. The card I was referring to was not of this world, actually.
Oh, sure.
I misspoke, obviously. Tom
Negator with the setup.
Yeah, Negator knew what I was actually talking about, even though I just said words randomly.
It's all right. They weren't random. They were accidental.
But it's also besides the point because, again, deck lists are open, so we know that Bob doesn't play that card.
Right. That's what's so scary about doing commentary on these is you mess up one card name and you're a legacy expert, and in chat there's someone who goes, honey, let's remember this card from Rise of the Eldrazi. Nice try.
To be fair, Rise had a lot of really weird cards.
Rise had a lot of powerful cards.
Yeah. Some of them are not legal in certain formats.
Well... Wait, what cards from Rise of the Eldrazi are banned?
I was waiting for someone to point that out because I was just spewing.
Wow. Here's the problem, Jarvis. I'm a modern expert, so... All right, well...
Oh, Emrakul EDH has been called.
Big fish.
Big fish. All right. Rotation for Caracas?
I hope so, for Autumn's sake.
I also hope so, for Autumn's sake.
Autumn gets Wasteland with the Internet Explorer symbol over it.
That would not be good. All right, so Bob can remake this in a few turns, but I think the Progenitus will kill Bob before that happens.
I also am under the impression that this Hex Drinker is going to kill before then.
Yeah, who would have thought that Hex Drinker is so good?
Okay, so we have Goyf at a 4 power thing, putting down to 10. Yeah, we're just not going to erase this. I was going to say there might be a way to just generate 4 points of haste, but this deck isn't exactly known for reach.
Nope. Also, really nice play from Bob to not play the depths right there. He realizes, well, actually, I guess he's deterministically dead now, but one like weird line could have been to hope to draw Wasteland for Caracas or draw Crop Rotation. I guess. Maybe we were supposed to play the depths. I don't know. I hope Bob did not think that he could remove the level up counters from a Hex Drinker.
Well,
Because it has protection from everything.
That play would have been not of this world.
Hoisted by my own petard.
We call that one a callback.
Yeah. All right. I've got a really important question for you.
All right.
Who is the better Magic Online avatar?
I'm gonna have to go with Mao. I don't really like nickel bullets very much.
I agree. Mowu, loyal companion, is a good doggo.
Yeah, that's true. Mao is a ripped doggo. Have you seen that avatar? Like, that dog looks like a Dragon Ball Z character.
Yeah, I only died to 1313 Mowus in that limited format.
Yeah, exactly. That's like minimum Super Saiyan 2 Malu.
Yeah. All right, so I'm showing a lot of respect here by bolting the X-Mage.
Yeah, because land drops are something that you can't really respond to, you have to preempt a lot of things that way.
And everything's an elk. All right, nothing's an elk.
I like the plan of getting food here, so if something happens to Hex Drinker, Autumn can just gain above 20 life. It'll be fine.
The thing that could have happened to Hex Drinker is actually really not a veil.
So, all kidding aside, it looks like that one is going back to Autumn Burchett, and we have a deciding game 3. Do you think anything is going to change based on play-draw dynamics here?
Looks like Autumn's reaching for those dazes to take out of their deck. I'm not sure. Well, it's close either way. I wouldn't be surprised if Autumn had them in or not, which might sound weird, but it having a few dazes in forces Bob to play a little bit awkwardly sometimes.
Do you think there's a point where, because they showed a daze last game, that they're banking on Bob respecting them this game?
I think it's less about that and more about the fact that it's just not that great for Spirit Guide and Mox Diamond.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's also a point. Go ahead.
And you see that Autumn left in the perfect number of days. 1.
Oh yeah, you got to keep them honest.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. If you leave in 1 and you get them, then they're just gonna play around it for the rest of the game still.
Oh yeah, of course. So I see that we have Autumn reaching towards that other copy of Submerge when they didn't originally have it, all of their copies in during the last game. I imagine that's at least in part a reaction to seeing all of the Tarmogoyfs from Bob last game.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that that happened right then, because if you looked at the deck list beforehand, I think you should have been able to figure out that that was Bob's plan. But
Sure.
I mean, it's better to correct the setup now.
Yeah, it may just be that Autumn was under the assumption the Goyfs were for more of a mid-rangey plan against combo decks or something like that. I'm not totally sure, but
that's fair.
It's like you said, sometimes you just gotta correct yourself post board. No reason to stay on a suboptimal plan if you know a way to make it better.
Yeah, and specifically the reason that Submerge is better versus Tarmogoyf is you're basically forced to fetch Bayou to cast the Tarmogoyfs.
All right, so how do you feel about both players mulling to 4? Because they both have 7-card hands.
I know.
But Bob is going to hit Autumn with a Thoughtseize. And I have a feeling next turn that Bob is going to hit him with a Thoughtseize. And then after that, Bob's going to go for the three-peat, otherwise known as the 3Cs. That wasn't as funny at the end as I thought it might be.
I mean, I chuckled, but I have a notoriously bad sense of humor.
You're very polite.
All kidding aside, I think that favors Bob. Look at Bob's hand. They have basically the combo rolled up if they draw another land.
Yeah, absolutely. You just need to find a mana source, and it's good. So here, it's just kind of on Bob to shred any kind of interaction that Autumn could have.
Exactly. I think, unfortunately for Autumn, it's not looking great, just based on hands. But, you get draw steps. This is kind of complicated. What would you take here? Borrower, huh? So, but Bob and I discussed Borrower, and he said it was super annoying that you couldn't take it with duress in his testing.
Oh, that's so cute.
I know.
God, and once again, Autumn could have done this turn one wasteland plan and didn't. Just saying.
I think that's really, really, really maniacal because Autumn has no other land.
Oh, look, that's what we call the chaotic neutral play.
To sacrifice 2 of your cards to kill one of your opponent's permanents?
I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
So Ponder sees Goyf Misty Bolt, so getting your second mana source is pretty clear, I think.
I can agree with that. Oh my gosh, Vampire Hexmage. We're really just piling on the need another mana source here.
Yeah, I don't actually think Hexmage was a good draw for Bob.
No, it's just kind of compounding the problem with this hand.
Yeah. So interestingly, are we going to see Autumn force this to protect crop rotation?
It's possible. They don't really have any other form of interaction here, and we know they're just drawing a Goyf next turn, which they already have, but isn't a way to stop the combo.
Yeah, so this is like, I think it's close either way. I would not fault them for doing either play, as odd as that might sound.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. This is why Legacy is great.
Does Brazen Borrower count as both card types while it's in the graveyard?
No, unfortunately. I think it might be bugged on Moto that it does for Traverse Evenwald.
I was going to say with Tarmogoyf as well.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It should only be a creature.
There's a force in the graveyard now, so it's fine.
Yeah. But I do believe it's bugged for Traverse Evenwald. I heard rumors of that.
Sure.
All right. If you're Autumn, do you slam?
So we know our top card is a lightning bolt that we probably don't want.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't really like just jamming Goyf here. Maybe you can, though. Maybe you just need to develop a threat. This one's on you. You're the legacy expert. Yeah, so you're the one who's supposed to look smart here, not me.
I think you're supposed to jam here to get a clock going. And indeed, you see Autumn getting the clock on. The problem is you don't actually have inevitability as the rug deck currently.
Sure.
So I think you're supposed to just slam in, hope nothing bad happens to you this turn. So if Bob didn't know about that crop rotation, a play you could make would be rotate for Urborg, play Hexmage.
Well?
This is something. So...
Oh, is it Thoughtseize the crop rot?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, so this was the downside of tapping up for Tarmogoyf. Like this exact sequence. The problem is, look at how many cards that required for Bob to have.
So maybe another line that Autumn could have looked into is they could have fetched up a second trop, tapped the trop, sacked itself, crop rot for Caracas, and then tapped Tropical Island Caracas to cast the Tarmogoyf and have Merit Lage covered.
Yeah, that is certainly reasonable.
Oh my god, what a beat!
So this has to be crop rotation or Caracas, or it's lights out. Because look at Bob's mana base.
Yeah, you
The
can't
submerge doesn't
there.
do it. Autumn even sees the submerge off the Bonde.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so they're gonna have to shuffle.
Snick not gonna do it. Wow.
Wow, what a close match.
I agree, it was very close. Bob navigated that game really beautifully, actually.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's a point where like you can always make these sort of like passive aggressive, like, oh yeah, you had 3 Thoughtseize in the combo, of course. But he really kind of threaded a needle to get through some specific things and timed it in a way that it worked out for him, right? It felt like we saw that Wasteland come off the top. 1 turn later, none of this works. Any earlier, Autumn gets to crop rotation. And it was really well played on Bob's part.
Yeah, and notice Bob left the crop rotation in hand until that very turn when Autumn had to develop a threat. I also agree that Autumn's play was correct there, because if you just sit there, it's not really getting better for you either. You don't have like infinity cantrips or whatever to set up.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that Autumn needed to find a way to both be disruptive and play a threat there, but with all of those thought seizes, it just wasn't really in the cards for them.
Yeah, so great match. We're going to have a raffle coming up for all of our loyal viewers, so stick around that. Courtesy of Card Hoarder.
Oh yeah, get all kinds of free swag. You can type Card Hoarder in chat, and then you get a chance at winning that sweet, sweet playmat. You know, I don't know about you. Card Hoarder's actually even been a long-time supporter of my own stream. I'm not going to like plug anything like that, but I do want to say Card Hoarder has treated me personally very well, and they are a sponsor of this stream. So make sure, type Card Hoarder in chat, get hype, show them some love.
How do you feel about the Doge?
Wow.
Very playmat.
I feel like the wow should have an E at the end. Like whoever's making these memes needs a real memester to help them get their 99 memes up to a 100 emoji. But I'm gonna say that it's very dog.
Card Hoarder also does sponsor my stream as well, so they're just great all around.
Oh yeah, and they've always been focused on growing the streamer community in Magic back when, even before Arena and everything, when it was kind of like, you know, Caleb, Michael, Jacob, a couple other streamers carrying the community on their shoulders. Card Hoarder was lending people cards on the down low so they could stream whenever they wanted. It was awesome.
Ooh, we got a winner.
CTH173 getting that awesome Card Hoarder playmat straight from the Legacy Premier League.
Yeah.
Y'all are dope.
To get your playmat, message It's Julian on Twitch, and he'll set it up for you.
Yeah, congratulations on winning that sweet, sweet free Card Hoarder swag just for watching the Legacy Premier League. So, with all of that, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. But it's been really cool hanging out with Jarvis. I know that you're going to be on another round, right, buddies?
Yeah.
When can we see you tonight? When can we see you tonight? What else are you doing?
I'm going to still be in the booth for the next match. Sorry, I spaced out for a second.
Okay, no, you're totally fine. All right, no. Stick around for more of Jarvis, and appreciate y'all sticking around with me. Take it easy now.
Have a good one.